and welcome. My name is Skippy Mesirow. I am the chair of the Aspen Next Generation Advisory Commission. And behind me at Aspen High School are the Democratic Caucuses for Pitkin County, Colorado. We are excited to be here to learn from people why they are going to be involved in this process and why you should too. Internets, welcome. We look for your participation all along the way. And we're going to start with some special guests. We've got not just the next generation, but the next generation with us today. Got some Bernie supporters.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Okay, so important things first. Ski or snowboard?
Ski. Ski.
Ski.
Ski.
It's a sensible crowd, so that's important. All right, so we're really here to find out why people are participating. You're not even of voting age yet, and so, I mean, it's amazing that you're here and you're part of this. Tell us what this process means to you and why you're here.
Well, I think it's so cool. I love the atmosphere, and I'm just so excited to vote because I love Bernie. I mean, I can't vote now, obviously, but...
Yeah, I'm happy about being like the political process and like watching what happens and what people go through, and yeah.
Well, I really like Bernie too, and I watch all of the debates, and I thought it would be really cool to come here and see what this is like.
Cool.
I guess I'm the only person who likes Hillary here, but just by watching the morning news and everything, I think the process is really interesting, and it's going to be a fun night.
So is it fair to surmise that all of your guys' parents are involved in politics, or is it really just you?
Oh, definitely. My mom is very liberal, and like I just was brought up being very Democrat. And
It's more me than the rest of my family. I'm definitely more political than the rest of my family.
So let me ask you this question, and then we'll toss it back to the Republican side. We've got our friend Feddersen over there, trying to keep things balanced. But what would you say to the Coloradans today who are able to vote legally, but chose not to when you guys cannot legally vote, but yet still showed up? What would you say to them?
I mean, if you have, I think it's bad because if you have the opportunity to come out here and like support your country and vote, then why wouldn't you?
And everyone's vote counts, so why not vote and get the chance? Because it's going to be like your country that this person's going to be running.
Did you guys chime in?
I think it's super important to vote, and even though it's the President of the United States, and it's a really big thing, and every single vote counts, and even if you don't know who you want to vote for, just being here would make a whole lot of difference.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, really inspirational. And once you grow up a little bit, come see us because we need the next generation to carry the torch. Last thing you want to say to TV and the internets?
Vote for Bernie.
Vote for Bernie.
Bernie!
Sounds like a caucus. Ashley, we'll toss it to you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Feddersen, president of Aspen's Young Professional Association, and I'm here today with Be Heard TV and True Media Foundation. We are here because it's Super Tuesday in Aspen, Colorado at Aspen's middle school, and we're here with the Republican Party for caucus. What's interesting today is that the Republican Party is not actually voting on a candidate for the RNC. They are just voting on 2 delegates, and the delegates are not bound to vote because there is no vote. So we are excited to learn over the next hour about what a caucus is, and we're going to take it back over to Skippy.
Well, welcome back to the Democratic side of the world, internets, Be Heard listeners. Behind us, as you can see, the room is really starting to fill up. This is an exciting night. This is when Colorado gets to weigh in and determine who its next Democratic nominee for president will be it Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. But what we're really here interested in finding out is why are people here? Because quite frankly, a lot of Americans don't take the opportunity to participate in a process like this. And so we want to learn what's driving these individuals in the hope of bringing in more young people in the future. In Aspen alone, making it Aspen as a microcosm of the country, in our last local election, we left 1,500 votes of the under 40 demographic off the table. And so that's really not acceptable if we're going to be citizens of this country. And so this caucus process, we hope, is going to be one that brings people in, that encourages them to take part in the future. It's an interactive process. It's not just another primary. You don't just walk in and cast a ballot. The people in here are going to spend a couple hours in here, and they're going to face off not only for their candidates, bringing forth, why they think they should be elected or the best representative of president, but they'll also be electing 2 chair people from the party who will then go on and be active in organizing for the party over the next 2 years. So this is really the cradle of democracy. We're going to send it back over to Ashley in just a couple seconds. And while we do that, we're going to be looking for people in the crowd here that we can talk to about their experience. And so with that, we would turn it back over to Ashley and see what's going back on the Republican side.
So a caucus is actually it's basically neighborhoods. So they come together and they come to a community location, a community center, a high school, and they then discuss the different issues. They split up into the different parties. It looks like we actually have someone to interview here. Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hi, what's your name?
Michael Sullivan.
Hi, thanks for coming out today. Why are you here today?
Because I'm a lifelong Republican, and I've pursued public office before, but I'm just very interested in getting more involved in the process. I've never caucused before, so I'm here tonight.
Wonderful. And why do you think it's so important to come out and fulfill your civic duty?
Well, I've always thought that forever, so I mean it's a no-brainer for me. I think a lot of people don't, so that's why I'm here.
Sure. And what do you think about this year? It's a little bit different. There's no straw poll. So what do you think about that?
Well, that's one of the questions me and my buddy were talking about coming in here. Like, why are we actually here? If we're going to caucus and people are going to know who we're for and against, who's going to volunteer to become a delegate, and does that matter? So I'm kind of curious. I'm new to this process, so I'm kind of curious to see how it actually goes down.
Well, thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. All right, so there's one take on this, and we're going to take it back to Skippy over at the high school.
I'm Julia Ely.
And I'm Tessa Pargeter-Hayden.
It's a lot of names and a lot of stickers. We're just talking about off camera how it's a good thing they're not street signs, or we really wouldn't know which way to go. But that's sort of what a caucus is about, right? It's coming in and not knowing exactly where you're going to land, even if you support someone, and working through the process. So I would actually love it. Can you tell us a bit about why you're here and what you know about caucuses in particular?
I'm here just because I'm excited to participate in democracy because I'm 18, so this is my first sort of real-life participation in our government, sort of how it works. And why I'm at the caucus, or what I think about caucuses.
Yeah, I mean, and don't feel put on the spot, but there's an inherent difference, right, between a primary and a caucus. A primary where you simply come in, you cast your ballot, and you leave, whereas a caucus is really an interactive process. You're trying to get other people in your coalition, you're voting for your party leaders. So is that appealing to you? Do you like that model? What do you think that means for the process?
I prefer a primary, actually, but a caucus is more interactive, like you said, and involves the whole community. I think it brings everyone.
Take it back, just give me the second.
But I would prefer a primary for sure.
Got it. And so the question that we keep asking, and I work on some local youth-based groups in town, and while a lot of us have passion, a lot of us simply stay home. Can you talk a bit about your experience with your friends? Do you find the same sort of apathy?
Yep, I definitely have a lot of friends who are not participating in the caucus or voting. They're just like, well, I don't really care, so I don't want to vote, and I hear that a lot. And for me, that's choosing the side of the opposition. So I really this is also my first year voting. I'm also 18, so I'm just really excited to get out there and just be a part of my community and hope that I can have a say in what happens to our country in the long run.
So, I mean, what would you say is the primary reason you're here? Not your candidate, not your issue, but, why did you feel like this was worth voting with your time, your, single most valuable non-renewable resource?
I don't know. I have a lot of people who have encouraged me to come tonight, and I guess that's why I'm here, just to do that. Okay. And I'm also speaking tonight, so that's another reason why I'm coming.
Well, guys, I cannot congratulate you enough on your first vote. Encourage you to bring other friends in and high fives all around. I think it's awesome. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
So we will be convening several other voters in the near future, diving into what they think about the current state of affairs in politics, what could be better, and we'll send it back to Ashley.
Talk to you. What's your name?
Trevor Nelson.
Hi, Trevor. Thanks for coming out today. Why are you here today?
I'm here to caucus.
And why is that important to you?
Well, because we have a given right and an obligation and a privilege to vote our next president into office and keep our country running as a democratic, free society.
And what do you feel about the turnout for caucuses?
Well, I have not been into the Republican caucus yet. Last election, we had a record turnout here in Aspen. I accidentally went to the Democratic caucus upstairs, and they were full. But Aspen is that way. 78% of Aspen votes Democrat, so I'd assume expect to see a lot of people up there.
Yeah, in 2012, 7% Republicans showed up. So not that many.
Well, that's about 100% of Aspen's Republicans.
Very true. And what are your thoughts on today? You know, it's a little bit different. There's no straw poll.
Well, at this point, things are so confused, and as far as I'm concerned, we're lacking any really strong candidate to take part now. So I'm kind of supporting the fact that we're holding back and waiting to see how things progress and make a decision at a later date.
Great. Thanks so much. Okay. Enjoy. All right. Now we're going to send it back to Skippy up at the Democratic.
Well, welcome back. We're here with Trisha and Ian, both clearly Bernie supporters. They are Aspenites. Tell us why you're here, not just your candidate, but why you felt it was important to show up and make your voice heard on this caucus day.
Well, from my point of view, I really wanted to see Bernie get a chance in this election. And up till, the last time I went to a caucus was for Obama in 2008. But I've been voting for, forever. And it's the first time I'd ever gone to a caucus because I felt so, it was so important for him to win the nomination.
Have you also taken part in primaries?
No, I used to just wait for November and just vote for whomever was there.
Yeah, what about you?
Well, I wasn't old enough to vote last time, but I turned out because it seems like the common thing people are saying is like, oh, I support Bernie, I want him to win, but he's not going to. And then no one comes, no one tries, and then Bernie doesn't win.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
For what it's worth, I was involved with Obama for a number of years, and that was also the case made against him until it wasn't.
That's right.
So let me ask you about this, because there's been the Bernie phenomenon and the Trump phenomenon on the other side, and it's really about breaking down the system in a lot of ways. Can you tell us what you think about the current state of American politics in general?
Well, I can't say what I really think. It's a cluster. It's a cluster, yeah.
It's a cluster mess.
It's a cluster mess.
Okay, this is the internet. You say whatever you want.
No rules.
No, it really is a mess. And I feel so strongly about, Hillary and the big money coming in and buying elections, and Bernie's the first one that I really would trust, that he would change things.
What do you say to people that say the country is too divided, it's divisive, it's in its corners? Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I'd say so because it's pretty much just a two-party campaign. It's either Democrats or Republicans every election, and it's always been that. It's not necessarily as democratic as it could be. People, when they register vote, they say, I'm in this party or I'm in this party, and then that's kind of what they're set to. And honestly, I believe we should just show up and vote for who we think is right for us. We shouldn't have to say what rule set we follow before we even vote.
So before I let you guys go, and go you shall, we just learned from one of our other interviewees that it is National Compliment Day. And I think in the interest of starting to heal those divides, what compliment might you have for a friend, a loved one, or just someone over in that building on the other side?
No, I do have to compliment Blanca Valeria's commitment to this. She's been pushing really hard for Hillary, and I may not support Hillary, but she's really working it for our party, and I can appreciate that.
That's a good pivot. Must be a pro. He's a plant. Thank you guys so much. We're going to send it back over to the other side with Ashley as we fill in the ranks and get closer to caucus day.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on today. So we aren't doing a straw poll. We are not, up at the Democratic side, they are picking an actual candidate to go to the DNC, whereas here they are not. We have 37% of Coloradans that are unaffiliated, which equals about 1.3 million people that cannot caucus today. So Super Tuesday is leaving out a big portion of our state. In 2012, we had 14% of the Democratic residents show up, and only 7% of the Republicans did. In Pitkin County, we have 5,222 registered voters. We have 34 delegates that will represent Republicans in July at the Republican National Convention. They will not be deciding on candidates. They will be voting on delegates that will serve a 2-year term. That's what we have here for some facts about today. We are going to send it up to Skippy again up at the high school for the Democratic side.
Okay, well, welcome back to the Democratic Caucuses over at Aspen High School for Pitkin County. So we had an interesting find here. This is actually a parent of one of my former athletes in Aspen Valley ski program. Tell us your name.
My name's Heidi Mellon.
So, Heidi, we're really focused at Be Heard on turning out the youth vote, youth participation, but also just bringing more people into the process, healing some of the divides. As a parent, how does that speak to you?
I think what interests me more so about this election is what's at stake. And, I've been really following it. I read the New York Times every day. I'm a liberal Democrat, so, I'm from New York. So I've never been in a state before that caucuses. I've never lived in a state that caucuses. So I was really interested in this process, and I've never been to one. So I wanted to come tonight. Someone reminded me, and I knew that it was Super Tuesday, but I had forgotten that Colorado actually has a caucus. So the reason I came tonight is because I feel as though, because there's not a primary here, this is a meaningful experience, and my vote can make a difference tonight to elect the primary contender. So, and I wouldn't say that this is an anti-vote against the Republican nominee or the inevitable Republican nominee, but I'm very scared. I'm very scared about what's happening on that other side, and so I felt like I needed to come here tonight to support my candidate that would be in the general election.
So I think, unfortunately, a lot of the people you would talk to in this country don't have that feeling. They don't think their vote matters. So what is it that gives you the confidence that it does? And how does that inform the way you educate your kids about the political process so when they become of age, what message are you sending them?
Wow, it's a tough question.
And we can walk it back if you need.
I know. I'm thinking back to the first time I voted. I was 18 years old, and I think when you're young, even more so than when you're old, you have such a feeling of inspiration, and you can make a difference, and things can change, and then I became disillusioned in the political process, and I have just now come back around to it, probably because I have children, and I'm more concerned about the future of our country and the environment and things that are meaningful to me. So I just feel as though, leading by example, I have to get out over here and vote. I told my daughter where I was going tonight. My son is out to dinner. I said, I'm going to caucus. My husband couldn't be here, and I wanted to make sure that they understood what I was doing here and why it was important for me to be here tonight. So
I think you handled that one pretty well, to be honest. Lead by example, be the change you want to see in the world. Good enough for Gandhi, good enough for you. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know.
I'm really excited. I miss you out on the hill. But
I still see him from time to time.
All right.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the caucus. Ashley?
Why are you here today?
That I thought I better come.
And why is it important to you to show up for caucuses on Super
Well, I've
Tuesday?
never been to a caucus.
You've never been to a caucus before? This is your first time?
First time.
Awesome. How old are you?
79.
Lovely.
Yeah.
First time in 79 years. I'm impressed. Now, there's no straw poll today. Is that interesting to you?
I don't know what's going on here, so I thought I'd come and see.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're really glad that you came out.
Well, thanks.
What do you think about youth, getting them involved?
Well, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do too.
Yes. Okay.
Well, good luck in there. Thank you so much.
All right, Ashley. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
bye-bye.
Well, okay. Bye-bye.
So the internets are asking about the organization that I chair. It's called the Aspen Next Generation Advisory Commission, and we are the newest commission of the city of Aspen. It's weird and wonky and kind of in the weeds, but for those of you guys who pay attention to hyperlocal politics, we serve just like a planning and zoning commission or a historical preservation, parks and trails, except that Our job is to advise city government on how policy decisions actually affect the 18 to 40 demographic. Aspen's youth face a lot of unique challenges. We are a mountain resort, but our real estate values are huge. We have a housing crunch, amongst other things. And so we were really formed to answer the question, what can we do to ensure that Aspen maintains its history as a rich and vibrant and full community, not just now or in 50 years. So City Council will come to us with all number of things, from transportation master plans to buildings of new hotels, affordable housing policy. And so we inform them about how those decisions affect young people, and we hope that more young people will get involved. I think if we toss it back over to Ashley, she'll tell you about the important work that they are doing at AYPA. And then I am going to get this gentleman up here on an interview. We're doing some meta filming. We're coming back with Nick.
Hi, thanks, Skippy. I'm going to talk a little bit about my organization that I'm part of. I'm president of Aspen's Young Professional Association. What we are involved in is we like business development, we are a networking group, and we also learn about how we can get involved in a philanthropic way in our community. So we have monthly events that we kind of touch on those topics, whether it's some sort of business development, networking, or philanthropy. Our next event is actually going to be March 16th at Limelight Hotel at 5:30, and that is with the Devo group. And we are going to learn about how our members and the Aspen community can get more involved with helping our community. And so if you want to come for that, that's $15 for non-members. We'd love to have you, and we're always looking for new members. It is Aspen Young Professionals, so we would love to invite you all for that. We're going to send it back to Skippy up at the high school for the Democratic side.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So I've got a good friend here. Hi, guys. We've been working on a bunch of local projects, trying to bring some health and wellness to our community. What's your name? What do you do?
I'm Nick Nicholson. I am a transformational coach here in Aspen. Among other things, I do technology as well, and I am running Bernie's campaign here in Pitkin County this week.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for your efforts. You know, our organization is not so much about a candidate, but really just bringing people into the process. Now, as a transformational life coach, yes, what advice would you give to America if America was a person about transforming its political life?
Well, I would start with, we always like to mine the desire. So mining the desire usually finds a whole bunch of roadblocks, which are fears. So the advice I would give is that we have to really think about whether we are, like we were hearing a lot about Bernie being unelectable. That's a fear. Okay, get the fears out of there. What's the desire? Use your brain that's in your heart and not the one that's in your head, and you can't help but win. That's the whole point. We're really trying to do this out of truth, light, and transparency, and rebuild the nation, literally.
So I think that's a really, really strong point, right? Really salient. I mean, in the days of building walls and all the other fear-mongering that is certainly going on. How do we break through that? How do we bring out the reasonable middle of this country that stays home because it's so turned off by that process? Or do you agree with that characterization?
I agree with the characterization. I think that is the majority. I think that there is definitely a wave of enlightenment happening in the country. There's certainly a lot of disclosure going on. There are two polarized candidates, Bernie versus Trump, dark, light versus dark. The shadow is definitely bringing all kinds of things to the forefront. They can't avoid not getting involved.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, this is really wonderful. I thank you for your time. Closing thought for bringing young people into the process. What is one enlightening or enlivening or positive thought that you could leave them with that hopefully would bring them into this process?
Well, I think this is their process, and guys like me are trying to set it up so they take the ball and run. And there's a lot of us doing the same thing. We got to have the youth come and take it over. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
For the last time tonight, thank you, Skippy. We are going to wrap it up here at the Super Tuesday Caucus here at the Aspen Middle School on the Republican side. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you learned a little bit and got some insight into what some of the residents here in Aspen and Pitkin County had to say. Thank you so much for watching, and send it back to you.
All right, interwebs, welcome back to the Democratic Caucuses at Aspen High School. Behind us, we just heard a huge crowd, hundreds of people cheer. You remember back earlier in the show, we had a young girl, just 18 years old, first ever caucus, just gave the keynote for Hillary Clinton to raucous applause. So we're going to wrap up here, but before we do, we thought it would be really important to bring attention to the unsung heroes of this telecast. You've watched myself and Ashley, but the people that have been really doing everything are the Be Heard organization. And so I've got Chuck here. He's been on the other side of the camera. Chuck, tell us about what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to be here. It's always exciting to give youth a voice in any possible way that we can. Obviously, Young Professionals is a sort of a great venue for us to sort of get into as well. Obviously, I'm just one of the many people that make this production possible. But the reason we do it is because there isn't really a media outlet that is allowing youth to be heard and to share their voices. And what better way to do it than at a Republican or Democratic caucus? You hear a lot of rhetoric today around candidates and how they're not engaging the youth enough. And I think that's true because what you find is a lot of people don't know what's happening. And if you don't know what's happening, you don't care. And if you don't care, you're not invested in civic engagement. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to at least share this with some people, and hopefully it'll be a ripple effect where more and more youth get involved in politics, in entrepreneurship, and things like that.
So you guys are all over the country, right? You get to talk to people not just in Aspen, but literally across the nation. And for some time, you mentioned the youth not being spoken to by candidates, but you also say that's because we don't show up. And if we want to be spoken to, then we need to show up. And if we do, we can really have the opportunity to change this country. Would you agree with that characterization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I said before, it makes sense. If you don't know what the issues are, and these are complicated issues, a caucus itself is complicated. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And you really look at the fine details, then you start to care a little bit about why I should show up for this 2-hour meeting and why my voice matters and how it will impact, the campaign on a larger scale. It's interesting because people aren't necessarily voting tonight for a candidate. They're voting for delegates who will then vote for that candidate. But you got to get out there so that your voice is heard, maybe not necessarily your own voice, but the voices of others who will support you.
So, again, thank you to you and your team. I'm about to bring up Ashley Feddersen, who's the chair of AYPA. We're going to talk very briefly about local issues, how you can get involved. But before we do that, for everyone in the back, we're not just looking at you through a series of tubes. We're also looking at 2 people behind the camera, a couple in the van. Will you give a little shout out to your crew, give them some recognition?
Yeah, congrats guys, this was awesome. You do hard work every day, and we look forward to producing more good content.
Cool. Chuck, thank you so much. Appreciate all the work you're doing. Ash, if you would come on up in an elevator, 3rd floor, perfect.
Hi.
How was your experience tonight?
Well, it probably wasn't as exciting as yours. We probably had about 40 people show up to the Republican side down at the Aspen Middle School.
So that's surprising. I actually went to the Republican caucuses last go-around. I've actually been to both caucuses. I've been a delegate for both, which has been an eye-opening experience. But there were more people there than last time. Did you get any sense about why more people weren't present?
I have a feeling it has something to do with the change in the caucus this year, that there's no straw poll. A few people said that that's why they came, because they were trying to learn and figure it out and kind of see the new process. But I think that also confused a lot of people. Other people said it's silly to even have this if we're not going to be voting somebody in. So that might have been a big reason why the turnout was so low.
So actually, for everyone watching at home and locally, the fact that people of an older demographic are not showing up not only means that if you do show up, you can have a real impact, but actually an outsized impact because you're not being held a vote against other individuals who are normally in the process.
More time to chat and say what your views are and really push that on other people.
So just before we go, this should be an opportunity for people to see what's going on here, to get inspired, to have a voice, to get involved. Tell us a bit about what you do, AYPA, how people can get involved, and why it matters.
So I'm president of Aspen Young Professional Association, and what we do, we have three kind of main goals: is business development, networking, and then philanthropy, giving back to our community. So with that, we have hundreds of members. We're always recruiting new people, so people that are just coming to the Valley that are needing kind of that networking platform. Also for opportunities if you're already living there, you know, if your business needs other businesses and so how you guys can grow together. Our next event is March 16th at the Limelight. We actually are, that whole event is around philanthropy. So you can come and learn how you can give back, even if you don't have money, just giving your time.
That's actually a really great point, because we're also going to be at that event helping to launch the Aspen Mentorship Program, and it's an opportunity for you in the community, whether you are an entrepreneur, a nonprofit leader, an existing business owner, or just somebody looking to make the move from the bar to the boardroom. You can apply to this program and have access to a network of 80-plus top talent, former executives, CEOs in this valley that can help you navigate your process and find permanence here in this town. Ash, thanks so much for all you do. Be heard. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Be Heard and True Media.
My next gen crew, anyone who wants to apply, we've got positions open. Take part in your community, because you really can make a difference, and I've watched people do it every day.
Civic participation matters.
Cheesy thumbs up.